Alright, baby. Tú me partiste el corazón. Welcome to the next class. It's always a script. Today we're starting the power dynamics part of the classes. Of course, as with every class, let's start off why this is important. Okay, there are different reasons of why this is important. First, because power dynamics is a very important thing. What is power dynamics, right? Okay, maybe the first question I should ask is what is power dynamics? Well, when you are a human, you have power, right? You can punch. I'm not gonna punch it because it will break, and I'm very strong, you know. But the thing is, you can fight, so you should understand how fights work and why people fight and what's the nature of all that, so you can avoid fights or you can win fights, depends on your objective. I hope everyone watching this wants to avoid fights, right? Because if you're as crazy as I am and your goal is to achieve world peace, well, you need to understand power dynamics. Some people call power, what I call power dynamics, you know, some people might understand it as politics, but politics is the, let's say, the fight or the search for power, right? Something like that. But no, I'm understanding, and now we're gonna be understanding the dynamics of the power, right? What drives politics, not what politics is about. Kind of, let's trigger the capybara, like in other classes. This is a bit unstable today, hope it doesn't fall. So, here it is. So that's why it's important to understand, because it's useful for your life, because it's a human nature thing, and because it can allow us to reach world peace. Now, is world peace possible? Well, that's going to be the topic of future classes, which, in order for me to expose my arguments about if world peace is possible, and if possible, how to get there, I need first to explain all this, so people can understand it better. Oh, my shoulder is itchy. Okay. So let's start with, what the hell? This is not the first class. This is not, where is the first class? Part 3, part 4. Where is part 1? Oh, here. And where is part 2? Here. Okay, I got it a bit messed up. I'm like, what the hell? This is advanced thing. This is the next class. What the hell? Okay. So that's why we want to understand power dynamics. Is there any other reason why do you want to understand power dynamics? Of course, it's more knowledge, and the more knowledge you have, the better you can defend against scams, about manipulation, about, well, just the stuff like this, world peace, less manipulation, you're more knowledgeable. Why not having more knowledge, right? Why not? I mean, because it takes time, and maybe it's that you don't need it, but this one, you probably need it. Yeah, I think it's like that. So we're going to be tackling about power dynamics, what it is, blah, blah, blah. And in one of the future classes is going to be about how cheerfulism is going to affect them, and how the new technologies are going to affect them. AI, blockchain technology, the internet. Well, it's not like a new technology, internet, but you know, it's pretty recent relatively to human history. So yeah, I think that's all the reasons, right? And well, I'm gonna just start explaining from the very basics, right? What is power? What is power? Power. Well, power, intuitively, okay, we're gonna start with intuition. Power is the capability of executing an action, right? And what is an action? What is an action? Well, an action, you can also understand it as a force. And what did our old friend Isaac Newton said about force? Force is equal, don't worry, this is not gonna be a math class, okay? It's just for understanding. Mass times acceleration. So what is power? Power is, physically speaking, the mass of an object times its acceleration that creates a force that can be applied in multiple directions, and that creates an effect that makes matter move, atoms and shit, and then you do stuff with that. You do work, and you create stuff. And well, we are made of these things, and so we also behave similar to these principles. So that's the first thing, right? That is power at a physical level, and there it has some principles, right? The inertia principle, which is if a body is in motion, okay, let's make this a body in motion. A dwarf, this is a dwarf. It's so small. Let's put a hat to the dwarf. So if the dwarf is in motion, the atom is in motion, the object is in motion, and no forces are applied to it, it will remain in motion. Right? That's just the principle. Unless there's a counter force applied to it, right? A force that is going in the opposite direction. Then the motion will be affected and it will maybe stop. It may be changed in the other direction. If this force is greater, it will just start moving this way. What does this mean, right? If this is too abstract for you, just think about you're against a friend like this, and you're pushing, and the one who has greater force is the one who will push forward, and the one with the weaker force will go backwards. And the principle of inertia is that everything that is moving, if no counter force is applied, stays moving. Kind of. I mean, if you're a physicist watching this, I'm sorry, I'm not a physicist. Okay, I'm trying to explain it as best as I can. The principle of inertia also says that if the dwarf is standing still, it will remain standing still unless there is a force applied to it. So this is very important, right? This is very important to understand because we humans operate this way too. If I am here alone, I can do whatever the hell I want. Socially speaking, physically speaking, not because I don't have wings, so I cannot fly. But if I'm with people, I have to do not only whatever the hell I want, but whatever the hell they want. Because they have force, they have these biceps like me, and we can punch each other. So you are conditioned by other forces when you're in a society, which are other humans with their own interests, their own sources of happiness, their own sources of survival. If they're hungry, let's throw an apple. Ooh, this is moving. Oh shit, it's gonna fall, it's gonna fall. Ooh, it didn't fall. Ooh, nice. So, I'm stable. Sorry if I'm excited today, as you can see. So, well, this is the principles of, am I missing anything? Inertia, blah, blah, blah. Let's see. The ability, okay, the default state, standing still, force applied, it moves. From motion to stop, from stop to motion, something in motion can go to the other motion if you apply force. Is the ability to exert force, power in physical terms. Now, if we get a bit more, more higher levels of the existence of human nature, and we go to social, not the social level, this is just you yourself with the nature, right? Or rocks with rocks. Rocks and rocks behave with each other with this principle. If you throw a rock against the other, the one who was thrown with greater strength, or the one who has a better physical compactness or structure, will resist the strength better because of how their atoms are structured and they pull from each other with different strengths. But that's how the what we call dead matter moves. But we are matter that is alive is pretty different. We have a very significant characteristic, which is that we decrease entropy locally. What does that mean? I will explain it in normal terms, don't worry. Well, that's for later. So let's go a bit away from physical nature. This was just important because it's important to have the very base of how force is executed. At the end of the day, politics and the search for power and power dynamics is people exerting power against each other. So this is important to have into account for later arguments and discussions. Oh, I think this is actually pretty stable now. And let's go to the physical level. So what is human power, right? That's like the physical power, but what is human power? Human power. Well, what do we have, right? What is the thing that we use to do power? Well, we use our brain to think and process a response to reality, and we use our muscles. So power is our muscles, so our physical strength and our, I call it information processing capabilities. So our brain, okay, our information processing capabilities. Okay, if we analyze the human existence, human power is driven by muscle, and by the way we process our information, so we make our muscle move. You can have rational thinking when you process things. You can have instincts and emotions. Okay, as I saw in another class, emotion is just a subtype of instinct. And yeah, you just have the full stuff. And that this is what matters, right? This is the two things that will move power in human beings. Now, I'm gonna write this equation here. You don't need to understand it for now. Okay. M times 1 plus y, if I remember correctly. Yeah, okay, but if you multiply everything, it's like m times, don't worry, it's not math. Okay, this equation, you don't need to understand the math behind it. It's just for the people who know math and are watching this video. This is gonna be very helpful for them to explain, to remember things in the future. For the people who don't know math, well, you should learn math. It's very useful to remember things, but I will explain what this means and everyone will understand, even if you don't understand this shit. Now, so I got this, I explained the muscle is information, which is coordination, okay, coordination with other humans. At the end of the day, when you process information and you transmit it by talking, by doing signatures, not signatures, gestures, and stuff like this, you're just transmitting information from one brain to another brain. You are creating. Oh, let's explain the entropy thing now with this communication thing. It's useful. When you talk, what you're doing is, physically speaking, you're making the air vibrate in such a way that is encoded in a way that when the ear of the receptor receives that, it can be coded to the brain and the brain understands. From the chaos of air, air is like a lot of molecules, right, floating. I guess we all know that. Atoms, right, that's how we understand air. Then we make the atoms take different shapes, the shapes of verbal communication, and then this reaches someone's ear, and he's like, oh, the way the air vibrates means that this guy is telling me something. So then I react according to this something with my muscles. I mean, I process the information and then I go to the muscle. Because we make the air, instead of being a random configuration of molecules in the air, we made it have a very specific shape that is the shape of the word hello when I'm doing hello right now. And you are hearing hello because your your headphones in your computer or whatever you're listening to is making the air vibrate in that same shape. So from a state of chaos, we create order. In this case, when we speak, in the air that surrounds us, and that is, my friend, entropy. Entropy just means disorder, chaos. Okay, it's just the scientific formalization of chaos. What does it mean, right? The scientific formalization of chaos. What the hell are you talking about, my nigga? And I will tell you, the same way, you have a distance or a height, you have a size, you measure that in meters. And what you're measuring is size. So entropy and bits, actually bits, the same as your computer, 0 and 1, is the measure, like meters to size. Bits is to information or entropy or chaos. I mean, there are different things, but for now, let's assume it's the same. They measure entropy, they measure chaos, okay? When I say more entropy, it means exactly the same as more chaos. And the more chaos there is something, the less information you can take from it. Like if we take a lot of randomness is also chaos. When something is random, you cannot predict it, and it's like chaotic, right? This should feel intuitive, what I'm saying now. So if we see these random particles of air randomly distributed, we cannot take much information from it. But if we make them have some shape, then that is predictable because we know the shape, and I'm making them. I can change the shape of the air with my muscle here, making it vibrate differently. So it creates an order. It creates information we can process with our brain. And the opposite of entropy is, what's the opposite of chaos? It's order. Okay, and order is the same as something we can extract information from and react and analyze with our brain so we can react with our body. Why does this matter? Because of world peace. So take this into account for the future. Remember this for the future. So we as humans and living beings, the characteristic is because they create order from the chaos. What does it mean? If you have a dog, this is a horribly drawn dog. You have a dog and you have a female dog. I don't know, imagine this thing is a female dog, and they do wiki wiki wuku wuku, they do like, yes, female dog, this is interesting, pim pam pum pim pum. Out of pure molecules, baby dog appears, which is a very specific structure. It's a very ordered structure. So one of the characteristics of living beings is that they can create chaos from order. And they do that by locally reducing entropy, locally reducing chaos. You probably know what reducing means, you probably know what chaos means, but you don't know what's locally. So to create the little doggo, you need a lot of energy. And where does that energy come from? From the exterior, from the sun this has like nuclear reactions inside of it, and it makes boom energy for everyone. Then the energy reaches the earth, it's absorbed by the plants, the dogs might eat the plant, and then they absorb the energy, and with that energy they can create order from chaos. When they have sex with a female dog, for example, and then little dog appears. So if you understand this as a system, I hope you saw the class number 3, the engineer's way of thinking. If you understand this as a local system that you are analyzing, and then you have an exterior system with a certain amount of energy, what it means when you locally reduce entropy is that you emit heat, what people call heat, to the outside, and you use this energy that is created to organize your molecules in a certain way in your system. When she gets pregnant, she uses energy from the exterior locally. Okay, you have the exterior and the local part. Locally is my house, exterior would be the street, which some people call it global. In the global is all the general state of the universe, or whatever, the general system. The thing is that they locally decrease entropy because they locally generate order. Decrease of entropy is decrease of chaos. When you decrease chaos, it means logically, used by logic, if there is less chaos, it's because there is more order. Orden. I spoke in Spanish. I'm Spanish, by the way. I've said that in like every single video. So, so this is very important for world peace, to also to understand power dynamics in the future. So I'm gonna keep explaining it, because we see that living beings have the capability of creating order from the chaos, okay? But this is just a capability. Just because we can do something doesn't mean that we do something, right? Very clear example. Imagine you know how to ride horses. Just because I know how to ride a horse, it doesn't mean I'm riding a horse right now, right? And it just because I know how to ride a horse, it doesn't mean I'm going to ride a horse every Saturday. That is something that you do with some frequency, a tendency. I will do a class about statistics too, the basic concepts. But a capacity, if you're a mathematician, the capability of doing something can create a tendency. Sorry. And the tendency, how was this? If capability, then tendency, that's not true. That's not necessarily. But if there's a tendency, it's because you have the capability. If you're a mathematician, you're understanding me right now. If you're not, don't worry, I'm going to explain it in English. This means that if I go to ride horses, I have the tendency to ride a horse every Saturday. It means that I have the capability to ride a horse. But just because I have the capability to ride a horse, it doesn't mean I'm going to do it in a certain frequent way. Maybe I don't want to, and I don't do it. This is like world peace. World peace is a capability that humans have, but that doesn't mean that it's going to be the tendency that we do. So, okay, this is the answer. Is world peace possible? Yes. Is it assured? No. We have to make effort for it and use energy and power and information processing to get it. That's one of the arguments, right? And so, yeah, yeah, world peace is possible, but it's difficult. But we can figure it out. We can manage it. I think we can. And I will explain that later. And this is also important because of power. Because we have the capability of using power doesn't mean that we are going to use power. We might have the tendency to use power, but we can also not have the tendency. A very special property of human beings is that they can control their instincts. A dog is horny and the dog fucks the female dog. A human is horny, but a human might not fuck. the female human if she doesn't want to. Some humans do that, and that's horrible. Don't do it, but you know what I mean, right? You can control your instincts. That's something that is very characteristic to the human race. So capability and tendencies. Good. So I explained that. I explained how power works. You might kind of know. And when you're alone, it's easy. And now let's explore what happens when you are 2. And then we will explore what happens when we are 3. And then we will explore what happens when you are more than 3. So incremental steps of complexity from the foundation so you understand. So yeah, I explained this. Capability is not tendency. Locally decreased disorder. Chaos is randomness. Incapability of prediction. I also said that. Cool, let's go with the 2 humans example. The 2 human situation. For now, I explained the physical situation, the 1 human situation where you are conditioned by your muscle and your information processing capabilities. And now we're going to explain the 2 humans. Let's take another color. Pepito and Rodolfo. Spanish names. I don't know if Rodolfo is Spanish, but yeah. Pepito and Rodolfo. What happens, right? Imagine they have something here. An object. Let's say it's a limoncello pie with a touch of coffee on top, with little grains of coffee, and it's very tasty, and they both want it. But let's assume now, for now, like if they are very hungry and they're gonna die, I'm pretty sure they're gonna fight for it because their instincts kick in, not the rational thinking. When you are hungry, when survival is not statistically granted, as I explained in Cheerfulism, well, rational thinking is likely turned off 99.99%. And what you do is like, well, I need to eat, or I need to drink, or I need security because there's a lion here. Now there is no lion, okay? Don't worry about the lions now. So imagine they have survival statistically granted, because if not, the likelihood of fighting, let's do the F, it's very high. But imagine that this is just a very, very tasty limoncello pie with coffee toppings on top. What can happen? I mean, they can fight for it. That's a possibility. That's a capability they have. The other capability is that they start processing the information, they dialogue, they reach an agreement, and they don't fight. As you can see, by intuition, by clearly saying fight or talking are the 2 options. There's a third option. Okay, there's a third option, which is like, okay, I don't really care about this that much, and I don't want to make the effort of talking or make the struggle of fighting, so I'm just gonna go somewhere else in the earth. So the third option is that we escape to uncharted lands, to just continue our life somewhere else. But guess what is going on? I mean, this is another capability, the escape to uncharted lands. But you know, in modern times, we have conquered the earth, so that's not really a realistic thing to contemplate. But we don't forget about all the possibilities, because it's the only possible way which you can understand everything and be ready for unpredictable futures. So yes, you can escape, but we're not going to analyze that because, well, our modern situation is that we have conquered Earth and we cannot escape to space yet. So let's forget about this. Not forget, keep it in mind, but just let's ignore it. Like I ignore my ex. Let's do it the same way, okay? And then we delete the phone from the telephone, and then we continue with our lives. So we get 2 options, right? Either fight or either talking. Which one is more chaotic? Think about it. Now, by intuition, fighting is more chaotic, right? Both of you have the capability of fight or talk. And well, I punch you, you punch me back. I might have to avoid the punch and then kick you, and then whatever, and then I just do like this too, so you cannot predict where I'm going. Energy, expensive, movement, you're gonna get hungry, you're gonna get injured, probably. Then the injuries have to repair, more energy, more energy, more energy. I mean, it's clearly more chaotic and more energy expensive to fight. Okay, and talking, it's also expensive, energy expensive, but it's less chaotic. Okay, it's less chaotic because you don't have injuries, you don't have to punch, you just have to process information, then talk, which is exhausting. It's also, I mean, it requires energy, but it's the less chaotic option. Okay. And from what depends, right? What is the things that will make Pepito or Rodolfo fight or talk? Well, it depends. It really depends. Just because they have the capability, it doesn't mean they will do it. So maybe Pepito is very selfish, and he's like, all for me. I don't give a shit. And Pepito is way, way stronger than Rodolfo. He's like, biceps like 3 times as big as mine, and Rodolfo is like this thin, and he's like, I can make any decision I want to because I am more powerful. And if I want the whole lemon pie for me, I can just do it. That's a capability that Pepito has in this scenario. Another capability is like maybe he woke up nice and he's like, you know, Rodolfo, I could beat you up and take all the lemon pie from me, but today I woke up nice and we're gonna share the lemon pie. Limoncello pie, actually. It was a limoncello pie. That's also a capability. It's a realistic scenario. It depends on how Pepito wakes up that morning. So those are the things that influence, right? Our muscle influence power to make an action, the action of, in this case, deciding who eats this and how much. Pepito or Rodolfo. Can be the other way around. Can be that Rodolfo is way more stronger. Or it could be that they are of similar strength, and when they are of similar strength, if they fight, they are likely gonna get injured, because when you fight with someone with your same strength, the fight lasts longer, you get more hits, he gets more hits, you get injured. So if you're very strong, it doesn't matter. You do like this, to boom, and then you win. What injuries do you have? How much energy did you spend? Probably less on talking and thinking. But when your forces are similar, by the way, if you don't I mean, if you maybe you see where this is coming, this is the similar mechanics that happens when two countries do negotiations over whatever economical resource they want to do. Politics influences in this way. If this country has fucking nuclear weapons and this country doesn't, well, he can pretty much lean the negotiation or abuse this country as much as he wants. That's why this metaphor is later important, but we will get into this later. So let's keep understanding it intuitively, because this is also something that happens in our day-to-day life, not only in countries. You know, there's like the last piece on the tapas, and it's like, who's gonna take the last brava? And they're like, me, you. I mean, no one fights for the last brava, but it could happen. It's a capability. It's not a tendency though, but it's the capability. So as you can see, it depends on how Pepito processes the information in his brain. It's like, I'm feeling good today, I'm sharing the pie. I'm not feeling good today, I'm not sharing the pie. Okay, so it depends. And I think I've explained everything. Yeah, and if they are of equal forces, there is the tendency that it's less chaotic for both parties to choose to talk. Why is it important to not use chaos? Because as we saw, the more chaos there is, the less likely your survival, or the less likely your happiness when survival is granted. And as we saw in previous chapters, the human intelligence has, let's say this is some amount, and this is time. Human intelligence has a cap. Your brain can reach a maximum intelligence, but no farther. But chaos, because it's a physical reality, chaos can just increase, decrease, increase again, decrease again, boom. And if it increases more than your intelligence can manage, well, you're fucked. You are risking. It doesn't need to happen, but you're risking your survival, all your happiness. Okay, so as a living being, that you can control chaos because you have the capability of reduce entropy locally, blah blah blah. You don't really want your chaos to surpass your maximum intelligence capabilities. So that's the thing. If you are stronger, the amount of chaos you create is very small, because you dominate the local thing, the scenario, the system. But if you are equally strong, he punches back, you punch back, he falls, he bites you, then it's more chaos, then a lion appears, and then he attacks both. Then you have to cooperate to defeat the lion, more chaos, blah, 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 blah. And then boom, boom, boom. I mean, as you can see, when something is chaotic, even more chaos happens. Like an explosion. That explosion is pure chaos. This is very loud. So just because, well, that's an important principle. Just because you can doesn't mean that you will. And another principle is that you cannot control chaos forever. So if you are two beings of similar strength, you shouldn't tend to chaos, because it's very easy that it goes out of hands and your intelligence is capped. There's a limit. So let's see if I'm missing anything. Oh, well, yeah, just as I saw, intelligence is the ability of processing variables, as we saw in the class number 2 and stuff like this. So we can understand that in a fight, there is more variables involved and more information coming into your brain, more quick reactions, actions, and it's very chaotic, and it's just more chaos because there's more variables and stuff like this. And yeah, let's go to the equation and the three people society. We had a one person society and one physical reality, two people societies and the physical reality. Now we're going to go to three people societies and the physical reality. Oh shit, it try out. Oh, you turn off. Nice. Good. Pepito and Rodolfo are no more. I present you to Catalina. I present you to Mr. SpongeBob. And I present you to Satoshi Nakamoto, for the Bitcoin lovers. Satoshi Nakamoto desu ka? Oh, なんだこれはクソモだ。すごい. Alright. So the mechanics are the same. The principles that held in one person hold here. The principles that held in two people hold here. But now there's an extra layer of complexity, which is that this person has power, this person has power, this person has power. And the power can combine in different things. You can have an alliance, right? Imagine they have conflicting. Oh, and that's a thing I forgot. Imagine you both want the lemon pie, but you just want half of the lemon pie because you don't really want it that much, and the other person wants half of the lemon pie. Then the likelihood of fighting is close to zero because there is enough resources for everyone, and because everyone has not too much desires. So it's like, yeah, let's just share. We agree, no fighting. The problem comes when you want opposing goals. When you have opposing goals is when the likelihood of power appearing increases. It's a capability, so it doesn't mean it's going to happen, but it can happen. And in tendency terms, when you have opposing goals and the resources are limited or your desires are very strong, like an addicted person, maybe you get a bit physical. Let's get physical all night. Okay, no, I don't want YouTube to throw this video down because I'm singing copyright songs. I mean, I'm saying nigga. I said nigga before, and that's like, oh my god. By the way, this is a fun fact. I'm gonna say a fun fact about the nigga word. In Spain, we don't give a shit about racism. I mean, we care about racism, but most of us have a very dark humor, so we don't give a shit. And I had a Cambridge flatmate years ago, and he came here, and he heard me say nigga. I'm also a Luxembourg guy, and they were like, oh, Carlos, what did you just said? You said nigga? No, they didn't say it, like, because they were like, their culture is like, oh no, that's very slavery times, that's very bad, don't say it. But here in Spain, we don't give a shit. We don't give a shit because we didn't slave niggas. So, as you can see, YouTube is not gonna recommend this video to anyone. So he was like, oh my god. And I told him, no, it's a culture shock, man. In Spain, we don't care. It's humor. You know, it's not real. You know, we are joking. We don't mean it. And they were like, no, there's no way, this is racism, you're very racist, blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, oh my god, man, this is a culture shock. If you want to understand it, understand it. If you don't want to understand it, you will have to, because now you live in this country and you are in this culture where most of the people don't give a shit. Fun fact. There are multiple combinations, right? And if they have opposing ways of solving a problem, you can have this pair, these two create an alliance or a team, alliance. And when there's a lot of people, we usually call it army. an army or a military group or whatever. But when there's like only two people, for example, we use softer terms usually. So there are like this combination, this combination, this combination of alliances, and then you have to take into account um, more stuff: the strength of this guy and the capability of information management of this guy, this guy, this guy, what he likes, what he doesn't like. This is a she, what she likes, what she doesn't like, what he likes, what he doesn't like, what he likes. So the system gets more complex, and the way you process information gets more important the greater is your society, because the amount of combinations of alliances increase exponentially. If you're a mathematician, you're gonna like this explanation. In the first thing we had a graph with only one node. So what are the possible combinations? Nothing. Then we had a graph with two nodes, which are the possible combinations of alliances? Just one. Now we have a graph of three nodes. What are the possible combinations? This one with this one, this one with this one. Every line is a combination. If we have another person, this gets three more combinations with just one person. When we added this person, we only added two combinations. When we added the first person, we only added one combination. But if we add 1, 2, 3, 4, a fifth person, we are adding 1, 2, 3, and 4 combinations extra. So you can see that the more people we add, the amount of combinations and alliances are just bigger and bigger and bigger. Okay, and not only we have this, because we are now doing alliances of two people, this one with this one, or this one with this one, but you can also have alliances of three people, these three, these three, these three, these three. So you see that the more people you put in a society, the amount of strengths, likes and dislikes, and information processing capabilities that you have to take into account increases, I don't know if exponentially, but increases in a greater pace than the amount of people you add in the society. This is, if you're interested about how to understand this better, it's called graph theory. Computer scientists use it a lot for algorithms and stuff like this. But, well, that's why the greater the society becomes, it doesn't really matter that much how the biceps of the people, but more about how they process information, which, I'm going to say it now, it's very correlated to the quality of their technology. A thing you should remember. So now we have a lot of things it can happen, right? A lot of alliances, a lot of combinations. And maybe I shouldn't have said the anecdote, because some people in the audience are going to be like, oh, this guy is racist, I'm going to stop listening. What am I going to say? It's a joke. If you don't understand jokes, if you should travel to Spain and meet Spanish people, and you will realize that we are actually nice people and not like racists and stuff like this. Some people are. There's racist people everywhere, but we are more humorous people that laugh at ourselves, at our bad parts, at our good parts. We like to laugh and make jokes. So yeah, if you stop watching the video, why am I talking to you if you stop watching the video? That doesn't really make sense, so I'm just gonna continue. So you see that this is a principle that it holds because of graph theory. It's just obvious. It's very obvious, mathematically seen, or that the greater the society, it matters more the information processing capabilities than the muscle. This keeps him. It's still important, but this one has a greater weight, and that is what you can see in this equation. Let's by the way, this equation is not like a physical equation, right? Like, it's not like force equals mass time acceleration, or like general relativity equations, or whatever physical law. This is just a reference for easier thinking. It's an estimation, which is not reality. Okay, estimation is not a thing that is assured, but something that we approximate. And in order for me to remember all these principles and not how to think about them every time I explain them, I just need to remember this equation. Let's understand why. M is muscle. Y is information processing capabilities. So you got muscle plus M times Y, right? If I'm not wrong. Yeah. Plus M times Y. So if someone, let's say, has 10 units of power of muscle, and has 1 unit of information processing capabilities, but then someone has the same amount of muscle, and then you have 2 units of information processing capabilities. If we do the calculation, we substitute here for this, and then we got 10 plus 10 times 1, that's 20. And then you got 10 plus 10 times 2, that's 30. So we see that this person has more power because he can manage information better. What does this mean? It means that he will probably have better technology, better swords, better tactics to use the environment to win the fight, stuff like this. But notice this. If we increase his strength by, let's say, plus 11, okay, then it's the same calculation, so this is 31. Now you win. But if you increase the information processing capabilities just by 1, and we put a 3 here, then we get 10 plus 3 times 10, that's 30 plus 10, 40. So only by increasing the information processing capabilities by 1, we won the fight again. Because in this equation, this weighs more than this. Why is this a real thing, right? Why does reality behave like this? Because if you have a shotgun and he has a sword, you can just do boom and you win the fight. Because better technology, more advanced technology and techniques defeat someone with more strength. Imagine you're very thin and there's a very muscular guy, and and you're fighting, and he's like, I'm gonna kill you, I'm gonna fight with you, and you do like boom, you win. So information processing capabilities, which is correlated to technology, influences greater than the amount of muscle. But if instead of 1 big muscle guy, you have 3 muscle guys, then this becomes times 3, and well, you got 93. And it doesn't matter if you have a shotgun, because you're not gonna be able to reload on time, and they're gonna kick your ass and maybe steal your shotgun and shoot you. So there is a point, this equation reflects the truth that there is a point to which an increase in mass, an increase in muscle, an increase in the size of the society on the number of people can actually compensate for the reduced technology or information processing capabilities. But whenever you increase your information processing capabilities, your strength increases drastically, because it's very different from using a sword than using a shotgun or a fucking nuclear weapon. So that's what this equation tries to reflect, right? It's not real. Like, we cannot measure this, we cannot measure this. It's just a mathematical mental model, so you can reason through it according to real principles, like the shotgun sword principle. I just created that name, and I like how it sounds, the shotgun sword principle. And the more people you have, this equation becomes more prevalent, and information technology, the capability of managing information, gets more important, because of what we saw, that the amount of combinations of alliances to achieve goals when you have opposing goals. That's another condition when you have opposing goals. If you have a very big society, but you have the same goal and everyone is willing to do it, there's no fight. And that can also happen. Never forget that. Okay, that's it. That's the 3 people society. The emergent phenomena of, I called it here emergent phenomena of alliances. I like that terminology. I explained this. I don't understand what I wrote here, but it's not important. I explained everything. And boom, bada bing, bada boom, we go to the final of this class. Oh, let me see if it's recording. Oh my god, okay, it's recording. Oof, imagine it was not recording. I have to record all this again. When you have not only 3 people, but you have 4, you have 5, 6, 7, 8. We have a lot of people. A big society, like nowadays. What did we say? That human intelligence has a limit. And the more people you add, the amount of combinations increases so fast. And when you cannot really understand all the amount of combinations, what is that? Chaos, lack of predictability. Could be these ones, maybe this overlap, maybe there is a spy in these three of them and he's leaking information to this. You just create the chaos you have increases dramatically. The amount of combinations, of alliances, of power, of forces. But the intelligence of every individual to understand all these possible combinations is limited. So, too much chaos. And what happens when this happens? Mafia wars, right? Everyone wants to rule, everyone wants to get their objective, whatever that objective is. Wealth, women, power, whatever. Lemon pies. First, survival is statistically granted, and then happiness. Obviously, when everyone wants to survive, and if society is good enough to survive, then the power, as we saw with cheerfulism, what humans seek, this chemical reaction of happiness. But for every person, there's different activities that create happiness. So everyone will try to do their own activity. But maybe that we cannot do it because we lack the resources or whatever other reason, or we're not intelligent enough to coordinate and distribute the resources accordingly so everyone can be optimally happy. So what happens when this happens? The state, governments, right? Instead of a lot of combinations about using force, different forces, you got one unified force that everyone agrees. If it's democracy, yes. If not, well. So you have a unified force called the state, the monopoly of violence, as Max Weber said. Monopoly of violence, blah, blah, blah. Why? Why do you need state? Anarchists will say, no, we don't need state. And we will talk about that in another class. But if you're not intelligent enough, if every individual is not intelligent enough so to understand all the possible combinations of society, and he can optimally get what he wants, which is survival and happiness, when this happens with the chaos of combinations because of so many individuals surpasses the natural cognitive limits of your brain, then, well, let's just reduce all the possible alliances to one big alliance. So the amount of chaos is small. And you can manage it. Every individual can manage it. And that is called a state. Or at least most of the individuals can manage it. And then we land on the state, on the idea of a state, the monopoly of violence. Is it avoidable? It's not avoidable. In my opinion, it's avoidable. I mean, it's a conclusion. I'm going to explain it better in future classes. It is avoidable, but it's very difficult. Like, we need an amount of intelligence so high that we still don't have it. Maybe in the future, we can manage to develop more technology and enhance our human capabilities to increase the limit of intelligence for everyone, and we can manage to make anarchism work. If you want anarchism, that's another question that you have to think. So I do think it's possible, but not now. That's my conclusion. Because people are just not intelligent enough. But that doesn't mean they are dumb. They're not stupid. Like, as we saw in the intelligence class, intelligence is goal agnostic. Because it depends, it's not like, goal dependent because it depends on the goal, right? You can be very intelligent for one thing and very stupid for another thing. Currently, the let's say the political intelligence of the people in the nowadays world is not enough, or political and economical intelligence is not enough, so to manage to create anarchism, this dream society of everyone gets along, everyone agrees, and no one fights, there's no monopoly of violence. I think we're just not intelligent enough yet, but I don't dare to say that we're never going to be intelligent enough. But for now, as we can see in the whole Earth, we all need a state. So it's important to understand it. Do I have to explain anything else? Or it's going to be in the next class. Is it avoidable? Max Weber, blah, blah, blah. States are everywhere. And then we're going to go to the next class, which was going to be a different class. But I think I'm going to record it right now. And from this, we're going to transition to ethics. Now, why? Like, what the fuck? No? State, ethics, how is that related? Power, ethics, how is that related? Next class. Everything, I mean, all this with less detail but with different metaphors and different explanations and stuff like this. It's in the book. Cheerfulism version 4 is the current version, but I'm going to improve it. The more I think about this, the better I can explain myself. So I have to improve the book in future versions. But for now, it's pretty understandable. If you watch the class and you read the book, you'll get a good notion of it. You should study this, understand why it makes sense. You should question it. You should try to break it, analyze the system like an engineer, see if something doesn't hold or it's not logical, and keep improving your intelligence. So this is the first class. I'm gonna stop it now, and we're gonna get into good and evil, good and bad. Ooh, the state, the law. What is good? What is bad? Is the law good? Is the law bad? Chan chan chan. What is the nature of good and evil? Can we objectively define what good and evil is? Yes, you can. How do you do that? How do you do that? Next class. So yeah, let's stop recording and see you in the next class, my students. I'm starting to develop this teacher attitude. When I put the camera here and I'm like, you know, the meme of the guy like with a lot of things. Yeah, not the meme of the guy like, not this one. This one of like, okay, if you're young, you're probably understanding. If you're not young, I look to you as unprofessional and crazy, but I make sense. I hope you listen. Sorry if you cannot take me seriously. I'm just like this. For the old people watching this, you have to understand that was born in 2002, okay, and I was born kind of in the internet already. And you know what happens? And we live in chaotic times where all these things like, oh, young people cannot afford a house. The future is very unpredictable, very unstable. And what do you think it happens to humans when things are not predictable? They go crazy, like me. You know, they go chaotic. They like the absurd because the absurd is unpredictable. And they laugh at the absurd because they are laughing at the unpredictability of their future. So it's like a coping mechanism, kind of. And that's why I love absurd humor. I guess that's why. I mean, I always liked it, but I guess it's because I think for me it's natural. It's not really because of my socio-economical historical context. I think I'm not just like this. But most of us, this is why young people love so much absurd humor. I have absurd humor. That's, I think, how I understand. That's at least how I understand it. Because we have a very unpredictable future, and unpredictability is chaos. Absurd is chaos. And so that's why we can see an image of a cat eating a sausage that says here Alfredo. And it's like, oh, this is so funny. Because we are broken, we're chaotic, because our future is kind of uncertain. And we have low wages, no home, no stability. There's no moral compass. The ethics are confusing. Looks like the past is always wrong and the future is uncertain. So what do? Absurdism. You enjoy the absurd. This is my context. Maybe I've been influenced by my context, and that's why I'm like this. But I think I am like this because I am like this. I was born like this. I always liked absurd shit. Yeah, this is just a note for the old people watching this, so you can understand the younger generations a bit better. And that's it. That is stop the class.